beard trimming, and the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra takes care of everything below the waist. Because confidence starts with the right tools. You got customizable trimming, a dual blade system on the Lawnmower 5.0, which features interchangeable foil and trimmer blades, ensuring a smooth and comfortable experience, even in the sensitive areas. And what about this? The long-lasting power. Enjoy up to 60 minutes of runtime with a beard hedger and 75 minutes with a Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. And by the way, it is risk-free. That's right, guys. Manscaped is now risk-free. Get it on Manscaped's 30-day money-back guarantee. You can try the Beard and Balls bundle today, completely risk-free, with Manscaped's
who has great timing, great creativity, okay, with a rangy style. Again, insane power, sleeping people out cold, that has showed decent takedown defense against Neil Magny. Since when is this an easy fight for Gary? It's literally all based on the fact that he had a close chess match with Shavkat Rakhmonov. That's literally it. People are so easily fooled by this, and it just goes to show how overrated Shavkat is. Too. And again, don't get me wrong, Gary's a good fighter. He's a good fighter, 100%. He's got good striking, even though it's taken a dip since he's actually started fighting higher levels of competition, okay? It certainly has. And his grappling is better than we all thought. And I think he can beat Carlos Prates. But, you know, the people that are saying that, come on, dude, Gary's going to just steamroll him. You know, Prates is a goofy guy, man. He goes out there and has fun fights. But, you know, Gary is the real level of high, you know, he's real high level, bro. Because he had, ole, ole, ole. I'm so dumb. I like Gary. I think he's good for the division. I actually, you know, listen. People don't love Ian Gary. I get that, but you know Ian Gary's fight. You care about Ian Gary. I'm getting hyped up about it. Okay, so he is good for the sport, and I like Ian Gary and all that. But listen, he's just overrated as fuck by a big portion of the fan base because of the Shavkat Rakhmonov fight. All right, let's not pretend this is Sean Brady. Let's not put Shavkat's a better grappler. I don't know. Shavkat's a good grappler. I'd say he's more dangerous than Gary, fair enough. But let's not sit here and act like this is Khamzat Chimaev. Right? He's a decent grappler with a decent clinch game. But this is no one that's been, absolutely striking the highest level of fighters. He damn near lost to MVP. He didn't land a single strike on him. You know, I initially thought that he had lost that.
We have here death. I owe forgiveness.
And then against Jeff, impressive that he was able to close the distance and not get hurt or whatever. But that was the stink fest too. Now he's fighting a guy that can match him on the beach. All right, that has nasty straight punches, which is usually something that gives him issues. Let's not sit here and act like this is an easy fight for him, and this is an extremely difficult test. All right, because it is a difficult test for both guys. I'm just done with this whole no to Gary. Oh yeah, you're a Mr. Jokester if you go against Gary in this one. You're just getting caught up with the hype, and you know, don't let it confuse you, man. Just because Prates is a fun fighter, he's gonna be project. I'm telling you. No, dude. It's a close fight. Ian Gary's being overrated. Simple as. Okay, let's get on to the next one. I'm not gonna spend too much time on this one. All right. And I know some people are going to say I'm rage baiting with this next one, and I'm not. Okay, I promise you I'm not. Just hear me out. I'm going to convince you. Ilia Topuria deserves a lightweight title shot more than anyone else right now. And you may be bringing up Arman Tsarukyan, and I understand that, and I personally think Arman should be fighting for a belt too. I don't mind that at all. But there are plenty of fans that while saying Ilya Topuria doesn't deserve a title fight, and while saying that they would prefer Arman to fight for a title fight, when you just talk about Arman getting a title fight, they would say, well, no, because he just pulled out of his last one, and he fumbled the opportunity, and he jeopardized the event, and therefore he should be punished to some degree, and at the very least not get awarded with an immediate title fight rebooking against Islam Makhachev. A lot of MMA fans say that. Me personally, I understand the idea that, man, okay, you know, he just fumbled that opportunity. Maybe we'll get someone else, but I personally don't care. I would like to see him fight Islam Makhachev because that's a rematch that we need to see. It's a really good competitive fight. But a lot of MMA fans say that that Arman should be punished. Well, if you do think that's the case, then you must say that Ilya Topuria deserves it more than anyone else. And I'm going to prove that to you. Okay? Let's talk about all the other fighters that are in the conversation. I'm going to get to Holloway first, even though he's not in the conversation, but he's a good lightweight. He is on a 100% win since that rematch with Poirier at lightweight, because he butchered Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje coming off the win. But Holloway can't get it. Right? Nobody is going to Islam Makhachev coming off of a loss. Let's just get that out of the way. Justin Gaethje's coming off of a win. Why can't we give it to him? Well, we've seen him fight for the belt twice. He's 38. We're just done with the Justin Gaethje title fight. But he also got destroyed by Max Holloway, and Max Holloway just got destroyed by Topuria. So it ain't gonna happen, son. All right, Charles Oliveira, let's get to him. All right, Charles, man, he's really good. I'd like to see him fight for
Will not take me.
And he's coming off of a win against Michael Chandler. Old man Chandler. And listen, I don't think anyone should be fighting for a title in 2025 in the lightweight division of all divisions. Because you're coming off of a Michael Chandler. And before that, you lost. In no world is that person fighting for a belt, especially if they've already lost to Islam Makhachev. And now Arman Tsarukyan, I would like to see him fight for the title. I wouldn't mind if that's the one that they make next, but pulled out of his last title fight opportunity, and people tend to use that against him. And I keep saying it. The only two options are Ilya Topuria and Arman Tsarukyan, and if you don't think it's Arman, it has to be Ilya, because how in the fuck are you going to justify a Justin Gaethje title fight or a Charles Oliveira title fight over Ilya, who is the champion at 145? I'm sick and tired of people acting like, oh, he hasn't done it. He's a champ. All right? There's one champion in each division. There's only 8 champions in the UFC. He's one of the 8. And he happens to be one of the 2 champions that Makhachev could fight. Bilal and him. He's a champion. We know champions can be competitive if they move up a weight class. We know they're always competitive. He's coming off of back-to-back wins against 2 top 10 all-time fighters. You're telling me he doesn't deserve it? Oh, he's got to earn his chops, right? Well, let me ask you this. Do you think Adesanya deserved to fight Jan Blachowicz when he did? Yeah, he did. Did he have to fight Alexander Rakic first? Or Gustafsson? No, but nobody batted an eye. Why did they give him the title fight against Blachowicz? Because he had hype. He was coming off of the Paulo Costa win. The best performance of his entire career up until the time where he knocked out Pereira. It's also based on hype. Cejudo? It was coming off of a TJ Dillashaw KO. He was hyped at the time, so he got to move up and fight at 135. Was anyone saying he didn't deserve it? Would any of these guys saying Ilya hasn't earned it at 155, would they ever question Cejudo's moving up to bantamweight and saying, well, he had an easy path to the title, he didn't earn his chops? Would anyone question Adesanya's fight against Blachowicz? No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't bat.
We have a predict you then.
It's because it's Ilya
They're
Topuria,
holed up in the pier.
and he has so much aura,
stand
and he's been winning so much that they want to slow his roll. And I'm not just saying, oh, they're hating on him, but Ilya Topuria has had such a perfect career, and he's been pissing people off and taking out legends, and people are starting to get scared that he's about to take out their favorite fighters, that they want to slow his roll, and they're going to say anything to stop him from getting that belt. The 45ers, people are going to, oh yeah, he doesn't deserve it, Based on what? Hype? Because that's a metric that the UFC has used for people that are moving up. But guess what? Volkanovski didn't get to move up after the Ortega fight. That was a good fight. Why? He wasn't hyped enough. He didn't get to move up till the Holloway Tour. That was his breakout performance. That was the biggest performance of his entire career. That's when the UFC decided to take out the big star. Let's give him a chance. Adesanya tried to fight. All right, he's big now. He couldn't do it out with the Joel fight. Let's give him a chance. Look at this. DJ. That's only 2 title wins. Sounds like Topuria. Let's give him a chance. Topuria has 2 title wins. Same amount as Cejudo. 1 less than Adesanya. One of those Adesanya title wins was against Yoel, one of the shittiest fights ever. He just knocked out Volkan Max back-to-back. Max Holloway just beat Justin Gaethje alike. You're telling me he doesn't deserve it? It's actually not the norm for these guys to have to fight contenders first. GSP didn't have to fight contenders at 185 before he fought Michael Bisping. John Jones didn't have to fight contenders at heavyweight before he fought Cyril Gane for the belt. So they say he doesn't deserve it. Well, then who does? Oliveira, he's lost to Makhachev. He deserves it more coming off of a win over Michael Chandler before that loss. Justin Gaethje has already had 2 opportunities. He's 38, absolutely no hype. No one wants to see it. And he just got the Butcher from Max Holloway. He just lost to Topuria. He does. Just because he's fighting. And he's weak. The guy that took a fight on short notice that's ranked number 11. Arman's not going to fight it. Not. You think it's Arman. But a lot of people do the fact that Arman pulled out of the title fight with Moxley. Well, we got to punish him. It's Arman or Topuria. And if you don't think it's Arman, you don't think he should be rewarded with a title fight, then Topuria is the most deserving guy right now. Absolutely, 100%. 100%. And again, this whole thing is, he hasn't done enough. Since when have champions had to get 6 title defenses before they moved up? McGregor didn't have to get his title. Maybe saying, well, that's only McGregor. Okay, well, Cejudo, title defense, and then he got to move up. Adesanya had 2. All right? Not everyone that's ever had to move up is John Jones, UFC or whatever. Volk, he had to go and win a bunch of titles because, you think they were going to give him a fucking double champion fight after the Halloween rematch? Absolutely not. People didn't like him at the time. He didn't have a lot of hype. He waited until he had hype. Euphoria has the hype. He's on a win streak. Every single fight he's ever had, he's won. His last 2 fights, one of them was against a guy that competed at lightweight and dominated recently. All right? And he knocked him out, became the first person to ever knock him out. And before that against Volkanovski, who just recently won as well. That one has aged better. So you're going to tell me this guy doesn't deserve it? And the last thing I want to talk about, these guys are no longer top 5 MMA goats. Okay? They're not. I'm sorry. They're not. Top 5 goats. They're legends. They are goats. But they're no longer top 5. And I think it's time for people to move on because after the Volkanovski fight where he got the belt back and won against Diego Lopez, there were some, posts about who do you think is the featherweight GOAT now? And 99% of them were saying that it's Volk. Obviously, it's Volk. It's been Volk since the Holloway trilogy. What are we doing, man? What are we saying, man? But there are still comments from the 1% that are still clinging on to Aldo. And they're saying, listen, I love Volk, man, but what Aldo did was unprecedented. He had 8 title wins, man. Volk has 7 title wins in the modern era, bro. What the fuck are we talking about? Okay? There was a conversation on MMA Fighting about, well, Volk still is 1 title defense shy of Aldo. This guy was beating Mike Brown for UFC title fights, okay? There's a different level between Aldo's WEC competition and Diego Lopez in 2025, who just beat Brian Ortega, and before that, slept out Sadiq Youssef, okay? And before that, Pat Sabatini. And before that, beat Dan Ige. Or not before that, but after that. You get my point. All right? Aldo's title wins are losing to Dan Ige, a lot of them. Not all of them. I know TKZ beat Dan Ige, but a lot of them. All right? Aldo is an absolute legend. He's arguably a top 10 fighter, absolutely. He's one of the featherweight goats, but I'm sorry, people, if you ask them their top 10, they'll still put Aldo there because of the run that he had. And listen, it was easier for people to win a title back then. The levels of competition were absolutely nowhere near what they are today. And the same thing can be applied to Anderson Silva. No one is ever going to pass Anderson Silva when it comes to title defenses. Makhachev might just pass him when it comes to win streak in the modern era. So right off the bat, Anderson Silva can't be over Makhachev, and most people don't have Makhachev in their top 3. All right, this guy fought for the belt early on in his career because that's what it was. The division was shallow. He fought Chris Lieben, and he immediately got a title fight. That doesn't happen these days. No one is getting a title. Even Alex Pereira's got to go on a 3-fight win streak. All right, and he's got to get through a Sean Strickland, who went on to be a champion, not just a bummy Chris Lieben. All respect to Chris Lieben. He's a legend. I get that. You get my point. And then Mighty Mouse, this is the one that people are still going to cling to. It's 2025.
Don't lose your way.
I'm sorry. Mighty Mouse is just being put in the top 5 these days because people love him, and that's the hardcore take. And that's been the hardcore take. And a couple of years ago, you were right. Absolutely. Volkanovski getting the belt back at the age of 36. Okay? Beating a guy like Diego Lopez. He's moving up. All right? Mighty Mouse is retired.
So we all know the news that Dricus du Plessis is apparently injured and has to pull out of the UFC 317 card against Hamza Chimaev. Him pulling out this early, it's over 2 months away, might mean that was a pretty big injury, or it gives him enough time to recover to fight soon after. Instead of continuously training up until the fight, might as well tell the UFC, can't fight on that card, but I could probably fight a pay-per-view or 2 later, if I pull out now to recover. Who knows? But him pulling out was the best thing for Ilia Topuria and John Jones, and potentially even Arman Tsarukyan. Ilia and Arman have now been given keys from this pullout. John Jones already had the keys, he just never used them, because they need to save the card. Hamza is talking about how he wants to stay on there and fight somebody else, preferably for the interim title. Caio Borralho, who's number 6 in the rankings, is saying he'll fight his former teammate. He's friendly with Hamza, they've trained together, and according to Borralho, Hamza accepts he will fight Caio Borralho on the card. But UFC's done main events for interim title fights before, and they're not like the biggest cards, right? Especially for International Fight Week, a card that is usually big for the UFC. And if you look at the next few pay-per-views coming up, the Bilal Muhammad and Jack Della Maddalena card isn't that strong, and the Merab and O'Malley card is even worse. They cannot afford 3 pay-per-view duds in a row like that, especially in International Fight Week. They need a home run for that card. Maybe it could be different with Hamzat though. Hamzat's one of the biggest stars in the UFC. Maybe him as a main event can sell a lot of pay-per-views, but we know the UFC doesn't generally like to use interim titles as main events for pay-per-views. But again, Hamzat could be an exception. He could draw a lot, regardless of who he's fighting, regardless of the title, possibly. He's never main evented a pay-per-view before, so who knows? And there are 3 fights that can save that card, and 2 of them include Islam Makhachev. So Islam could defend his belt against the #1 contender, Arman Tsarukyan. Now that is pretty funny if they do that fight, because Arman actually ruined one of the pay-per-views by pulling out the day before. And then Renato Moicano stepped in. This was Islam's last fight. It would be a cool redeeming story for Arman, going from hurting one of their pay-per-views to saving another. But would the UFC risk that? Putting it on Arman's back to stay in the fight and not torch his back in the gym. But that is a potential fight they could put together. But would it be big enough? Would Islam versus Arman 2 be big enough for International Fight Week, with Hamza Chimaev versus Caio Borralho in the co-main event? Also, I don't think Hamza should be fighting Borralho. I think he should be fighting Imavov, unless Imavov couldn't take the fight or something, because he's clearly ahead in the rankings to Borralho. I mean, he just knocked out Adesanya. Borralho's best win is Jared Cannonier. Borralho's a very good fighter, but there's rankings for a reason. And that would be actually a very good #1 contender fight until Dricus comes back for the interim title, whatever it is. That'd be great. Hamza versus Imavov, that's the fight they should do as the co-main. But what's even better than Islam versus Arman as a main event is Islam versus Ilia Topuria, because he's the one that's been wanting to fight Islam, and now they need a big main event. And Islam versus Ilia is a guaranteed big main event. That card will sell so much. With Islam, Ilia, and Hamza on the same card, and the UFC negotiating with broadcasters to have their fights on them, they're gonna want a big fight like that can sell them the UFC a lot better than if they don't have any fights, you know? They can promise, like, if they're talking to Netflix or if they're talking to whatever it is, Fox or ESPN, the UFC can tell them, we got a big card on June 29th. Islam Makhachev versus Ilia Topuria. Hamza Chimaev versus, I guess, Caio Borralho, but should be Nasruddin Imavov. We have a big card for that month, right? We could put it right on Netflix, we could put it right on Fox, we could put it right on ESPN, whatever it is, wherever they go with it. But the only other fight that is potentially even bigger than that, but there's more hurdles to jump over for the UFC, is John Jones defending his title against Tom Aspinall. The only hurdle they have to jump over for that, and that is paying John Jones $30 million. I think if they give him $30 million, he will fight on that card. despite what he said about training for 6 months for Tom Aspinall. I think some of that was also for negotiations. Jones is smart. He most likely knows that the UFC is negotiating with broadcasters, so he's asking for $30 million, and the UFC needs that fight. And what a better time to have it than for International Fight Week. Jon Jones' retirement fight against his biggest challenge potentially in his entire career, the interim champion Tom Aspinall, with Hamza Chimaev in the co-main event, easily 1 million pay-per-view buys. Easily. I don't know if Islam and Ilya could draw 1 million buys, maybe like 800,000 or something, but I'm pretty sure Jones versus Aspinall with Hamza as the co-main is 1 million pay-per-view buy card, 100%. There is another potential fight. I don't think this fight would happen. Let's say if Jack Della Maddalena defeats Bilal Muhammad, Islam fights Jack Della 2 months later for the welterweight title. I think Islam would be ready to do that, but I don't know if Jack would. I mean, he just had a fight 2 months before, you know, his first title fight ever, and after the injury too, you know, so it'd be tough for him to make that quick of a turnaround, but he'd be an absolute legend if he does. But those are the potential fights they can have on UFC 317. I think they probably do Islam versus Ilya. I think that's the easiest one they could put together. They just have to entice Islam, right? They have to give maybe Islam more money to take the fight, or promise him that if he beats Ilya, he can go and fight for the welterweight title regardless, no matter what. Something like that, you know? That's the fight I think they would do. So let's say they do Islam versus Ilya as the main event. Islam versus Ilya is obviously the best fight, in my opinion, that the UFC could put together. Can Ilya get in close and land that bomb on Islam and knock him out? Can he defend the takedowns? How much stronger is going to be at lightweight? Or can Islam keep Ilya at distance, landing the jab, the front kicks, the high kicks, and counterpunch effectively while staying away from the fence? And can he out-wrestle Ilya Topuria? It's a very interesting fight. And then Hamza fights Bohayo as the co-main event. It could be a good fight because Bohayo is well-rounded. He's trained with him before. He's good everywhere, but the expertise that Hamza has in his wrestling might be way too strong for Bohayo. And in fact, maybe everybody in the weight class. Even though Imavov should be fighting Hamza over Bohayo, I think they both lose to Hamza the same way. They're both well-rounded, but they both can't stop his wrestling. I guess the only difference would be that, again, Hamza has trained with Bohayo, so maybe it'd be different mentally for him than fighting Imavov. That would be the only difference, right? The styles aren't going to be too different for Hamza. It's more of like the mentality of fighting a friend instead. Maybe he doesn't try to hurt him. Maybe he just wrestles and chokes him out, not to cause any brain damage to his friend or something. I don't know. That would be the only difference, but I think both Bohayo and Imavov lose the same way to Hamza. What other fights could you put on there? So with the lightweight title fight, they should also put Charles Oliveira on there. Armin versus Charles continues their first fight, which should have been 5 rounds. Make that fight 5 rounds for the #1 contender. And now Charles is bigger. He has better wrestling. Armin hasn't fought since then. Charles is super focused and made the adjustments to become a more well-rounded fighter. Armin's wrestling might not be as effective as it was in the first fight, which was the missing piece for Charles in their first fight. Now that he has gotten stylistically better for that fight against Armin, he might actually win that fight. But Armin's been training. So he's going from one training camp to another. And who knows after all of that training, how much better Armin has gotten, right? What if Armin shoots a takedown at the beginning of the fight and Charles sprawls on it and separates, defending it easily, and starts laying jabs and front kicks to the body, low kicks, frustrating Armin with long strikes, which gets Armin to explode his way in and then gets countered or something. Like that fight could be so incredibly explosive with the way that Armin approaches it, because if his takedowns are defended, he's going to explode for overhands and big shots like that. And what Charles showed in the Chandler fight is he's even more patient, and I think it's a better Charles Oliveira than the aggressive Charles going for the knockout at every second. And then they should do Cyril Gane versus Gelson Almeida for also another #1 contender fight. The winner fights the winner of Jones versus Aspinall. Imagine that fight, striker versus grappler. Although Almeida's getting better with the striking, Cyril Gane's also getting better with his grappling. I think the styles are so polar opposite from each other. Cyril Gane's gonna be bouncing around trying to land long punches and kicks. Almeida's gonna try to throw a front kick, shoot on a low single, push Cyril against the fence, try to chain wrestle there. Then we'll know how much better Cyril Gane's grappling has gotten. Maybe he could defend the takedown and then bring it back to the strike and start landing more shots from distance. But the persistent takedown after takedown from Almeida might be too much for Gane. Who knows? Or Gane can maybe keep the fight at distance for 3 rounds and beat him that way. That's such an interesting technical fight for heavyweights, and obviously the next fight they should do. That fight should happen regardless of the card they put it on. And the other side of fight Alexander Pantoja was Kai Kara France. And that would be such a banger of a main card, dude. 10 out of 10 main card right there. Or I'll say actually 9.5 out of 10, because it should be Hamza versus Emo. But if Ilya beats Islam, then he fights the winner of Charles and Armin on the same card, which lines up perfectly. And then I think the winner of Justin Gaethje versus Dan Hooker should fight maybe Paddy Pimblett. And that's the next #1 contender, or something like that, you know? Islam wins. Then he's going to jump up to welterweight, and I don't know how often he wants to fight. Maybe they don't need to do an interim title. Maybe he can fight frequently enough where he wins that belt, he'll defend both times. But that could be the card. Like Ilya Topuria, Jon Jones, Islam, and Tom Aspinall, all those guys can say that. Unless the UFC wants to see how big of a star Hamza is by keeping him as the main event for an interim title. I think Hamza can draw well on the road, but man, that card needs to be a home run. They need to make it as big as possible. Not only because of the new broadcasters, but also you can't have 3 pay-per-views that aren't stacked. Like if Marab vs. O'Malley was a stacked card, they can make this card lighter. You know, they don't have to go crazy with it then. But Marab vs. O'Malley is such a weak card, they can't do the same thing with this one. So I don't know what the fight that they're going to do next. What do you guys think? Do you think they do the heavyweight title fight or the lightweight title fight? And who would you rather see, Armin or Ilya, to save that card? And I'll see you guys in the next one. So the lightweight division needs some matchmaking. There's so many different options that not only the fans want, but also the UFC. There's also some fights the UFC doesn't want, like on the Sardukian getting their title shots. I kind of disagree with at this point. So regarding the champion, Islam Makhachev, we've heard about his team talking about how they're not as interested in fighting Ilya Topuria. They wanted to get a big win at lightweight first before fighting for the title, which I completely understand. The Ilya fight is the biggest in the division, but Islam's team seems to not want to fight Ilya Topuria right now. They want to see him earn that shot in the lightweight division first. But first, before them, from the same source, Ilya Topuria said that he doesn't want to fight Armin Tsarukyan. Everybody wants a title shot. Charles Oliveira said multiple times that he wants a title shot next against Islam, and has expressed that he doesn't care to fight Ilya Topuria. Justin Gaethje said he also wants a title shot. Everyone wants a title shot. The only one that obviously seems okay with fighting someone else is Armin Tsarukyan, because he knows where he stands with the UFC after pulling out. So lightweight is in a complete mess. There's some insane fights you could put together, and I think all of these guys will fight each other, right? Islam will fight anybody, Ilya will fight anybody, Armin, Gaethje, Charles, I think they would all fight anybody. But they're all in negotiation battles. That's the main fight right now. Who's gonna get the title shot? And once that guy gets it, then we're gonna see the other lightweights start fighting each other. And the lightweight is getting very close to that transitional phase where the Dustins, Justins, Charles, Chandlers, like these guys are gonna retire soon. So we gotta get some of the biggest fights possible in that division right now, but fights that make sense. Okay, so the way I would make the lightweight division, Islam Makhachev has 3 opponents. 2 of them that we want, but there is a 3rd opponent that could be next for Islam. So, of course, there's the Ilya Topuria fight. It's the biggest fight in the division, one of the biggest fights in the UFC regardless of weight classes. And it's against the opponent that has the best chance of beating it. I think Ilya has the best style and the best finishing ability to beat someone like Islam, right? Better than Charles, Armin, Gaethje, Dustin, it doesn't matter. Ilya is the best, most dangerous fight for Islam Makhachev. From distance, Islam can land some good shots. He has the wrestling advantage. We have seen Ilya get taken down before. Now, that doesn't mean that Islam's going to take him down just because Bryce Mitchell did. Right, that's MMA math. But if you look at the techniques, Islam could shoot a takedown under some of the swaying head movement, or maybe some of the big punches that Ilya throws forward. A good double leg gets Ilya to the ground, and I think on the ground, Islam is better. Of course, there's the left high kick, the left-hand counter punch on the back foot, but if Ilya Topuria is able to get in close on Islam, if he gets right in there, in boxing range, what does Islam do there? That is the most dangerous position any fighter at lightweight can have against someone like Islam. It's Ilya's pocket boxing. If he's able to get in that short range, I don't know if Islam has the skills to counter that. He probably does, but he just never really has been put in that position before against someone who's that powerful and that good at boxing, right? Volk was able to get in there, but actually Volk got dropped in the pocket, right? So Islam does have abilities there that might even surprise Ilya. We have no idea. That's why it's such a compelling fight. That's why it's the fight everybody wants to see. It's between 2 of the best fighters in the world. If you think Ilya's above John Jones pound for pound, right? Then it would be number 1 versus number 2, but technically it's number 1 versus number 3. And if Islam is able to beat Ilya, it means he beat a former number 1 pound for pound fighter, Volk, beat him twice. He beat the number 3 pound for pound fighter, Charles Oliveira, and then beats another number 3 pound for pound fighter, Ilya Topuria. That's another accomplishment that no other fighter has ever done. And that would tie Anderson Silva's longest win streak in UFC history. A win over Ilya Topuria would have to put Islam in the top 5, 100%. Top 5 GOAT in the sport, no debate whatsoever. If Ilya wins, I don't know how to think about that, because he would only have 5 ranked wins in his entire career, but 3 of those are Volk, Max, and Islam at a higher weight class. He'd be speedrunning the UFC. But that's not his only opponent. The other one is Armin Tsarukyan. This is the opponent. If Islam would rather fight someone else, it should be Armin. Because, okay, there's the pulling out. He did get injured. I don't know what he was doing the day before. On weigh-in day, he injured his back somehow. I don't know how. But at the same time, he is the number 1 contender. And there's no other lightweight that should get a title shot over him. The only one that could is Ilya. But if it's not Ilya, then it has to be Armin. You can't put Charles, Max, Gaethje, Dustin, or any of these guys above him. I say because of the state of the lightweight division right now, just give it to Armin if Ilya doesn't get the title shot. And have a fighter ready to replace. Like, if Armin gets injured, they can have Gaethje as the backup fighter. Or they can have Ilya Taporia on the card versus someone. And if Armin ever pulls out, they have that fight ready to bump one of those guys up and fight Islam Makhachev. They can do either of those things. I think when Armin first pulled out and UFC did not have a backup fighter was kind of a mistake. They should always have a backup fighter for championship fights. It's too much to risk one of those guys pulling out. But I think the fight is good. It's not the most compelling. Like, I don't think it gets the fans the most excited for it. Everyone knows it's going to be competitive, but it's a competitive kind of fight where you don't really see Armin winning. It's always going to be back and forth, but it seems like it will always be Islam who's one step ahead. And the main reason for that is Armin has the wrestling. Right? He may be the best wrestler in the lightweight division, somewhere around the same skill level with Islam's wrestling, but Islam's the better striker of the two. He's way better in his style. It's not really that close either. Armin throws overhands, he has good kicks and stuff, but he's not like super technical to handle someone like Islam. You would have to wrestle. It'll make it competitive. We'll go back and forth in the wrestling. Striking advantage for Islam. And maybe going for some submissions. Would win him the fight on the scorecard. So it's a good fight, but not the most exciting fight. I think, the third opponent. I think Justin Gaethje is the only other guy that could fight Islam at the moment, if it's not those two. The only people that want Justin Gaethje to fight Islam are Islam's camp and Gaethje's camp. And some of those guys are mutual. Some of the guys in Islam's camp is also in Gaethje's camp. Ali Abdelaziz wants to double dip in the money there, take some money from both the fighters in the main event in the championship fight. It's a no-brainer why Ali Abdelaziz wants that fight. And the thing is, Dana even talked about it. Dana said the fight could be Gaethje, right? Gaethje is one of the top-ranked guys. He beat Fiziev. They don't want to put Armin in there. They might think it's too soon for Ilya, but it's the ranked fighter that we just don't care about. Like, dude, it's going to be a first or second round submission. He's coming off a win against Fiziev. 2 fights before, yes, he knocked out Dustin early, but it's not too different than when Dustin had a title shot against Islam. Remember back then? The fans didn't care about it until the fight happened, and it was an actual really good fight. I don't think Gaethje could put on the same kind of fight. We said the same thing for Dustin, but Gaethje legitimately has no jiu-jitsu. When he's on the ground, he literally fights like a wrestler. He gives up his back, he gives up his neck. Dustin at least has a background in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Even though he's not the best at it, he understands it at a decent level. Decent enough of a level to not get submitted by Islam, right? Fiziev took down Justin Gaethje. He was known for his Muay Thai, not his wrestling. Took down Justin Gaethje and got him an inverted triangle choke. Dude, the fight after, we're going to see Gaethje fight Islam. Not only on the ground does Islam absolutely dominate Justin Gaethje. Is it crazy to say that he would outstrike Gaethje because of the takedown threat? Like, how is Gaethje going to fight that? Is he going to move forward, get very aggressive? Well, not only are the takedowns going to be open under some of those big punches for Islam, but also the counter shots. Islam's striking style is more as a counter strike. So Gaethje would be attacking Islam where he's at his strongest in the striking, as well as open up takedown opportunities at the same time. But let's say Gaethje fights the opposite. Let's say he moves away, right? He moves along the cage, or he wants to try to stay in the center of the octagon or something like that. Or maybe even how we fought Khabib. Create space, look for the big openings, but you know that fight's going to be mimicking the Khabib fight. You move too far back to the cage, Islam's going to shoot on it, trip you off of the cage onto the ground, and then submit you. Gaethje could try to keep it in the center. I don't think any of it works, man. I just don't think he has the style and the skills currently to beat someone like Islam Makhachev. The only interesting part of it is that, Gaethje could knock him out just like anybody else can, right? Anybody can knock out Islam. Is that the only reason? Like, what does he actually do, technically, that you would say, he actually has a good chance at beating Islam like this? I don't know any way he can do that. I could think of ways Ilya beats him. I could think of ways Armin can even beat him. I could think of ways Charles Oliveira can beat him. It's hard to think of Gaethje, unless he just brawls and just happens to land a punch, puncher's chance knockout. Some fighters have a greater puncher's chance than others, but if that's the only reason to get excited for it, a puncher's chance being the main reason the challenge is exciting is not enough for a title fight, unless it's heavyweight, right? It's not the same thing at lightweight. Puncher's chance is like the main selling point. We want to see the best fight the best. So those are the only 3 fights for Islam Makhachev. It's either Ilya Taporia, Armin Tsarukyan, or Justin Gaethje. Now, what about Charles Oliveira? I don't think you can give it to Charles. If you don't give it to Armin, you can't give it to Charles. It's just not right. He lost to Armin. Now, if Charles knocks out someone else, like Ilya Taporia or Justin Gaethje, okay, that's a different story. Armin's going to be fighting somebody. I think they're going to be fighting around the same amount of times. So when Charles gets a fight, then Armin will as well. It could even be against each other. So the options for Armin Tsarukyan. Of course, we talk about the title fight, but there is also Charles Oliveira. The rematch would be excellent. The first fight should have been 5 rounds, man. It felt just incomplete. 3 rounds are over. Armin Tsarukyan won the decision, but it felt like there should have been 2 more rounds. The fight is not done. I think in a rematch, making it 5 rounds, maybe on the same card as Islam, whoever he fights, would be great. It's a competitive fight. Charles is getting better. We haven't seen Armin since that fight. Charles is now stronger than ever before. He's bigger as well. You saw that in the Chandler fight. Taking Chandler down multiple times, overpowering him in moments was kind of crazy. Like, you never expected Charles Oliveira to be able to do that to someone like Michael Chandler. Not only that, still a very good striker, still amazing on the ground. Charles Oliveira is better than he's ever been. And if he fights Armin now, he could win, right? If it makes the wrestling a lot more difficult for Armin, I think Charles doesn't have to respect it as much, right? He can let loose in the striking a lot more. I think Charles could win the fight, but it's like nearly 50-50. Either of those guys could win. And the winner of that fight should get a title shot. But there's other opponents as well. There is the potential of Armin Saryukin versus Ilia Topuria. That'd be a great fight. And it would test Ilia's wrestling in the heavier weight class. Like, he destroys Armin in the stand-up, right? He knocks out Armin. He's gonna go throwing overhands and power punches with Ilia. He'd get decimated if he tries to fight like that. He would have to kick and wrestle. Maybe throw out a few jabs and keep range, because Armin has a long reach. He's like 5'8" with a 72-inch reach. It's crazy. So you could stick the jab on Ilia and then throw out high kicks and stuff like that. Measure for takedowns. He could absolutely beat Ilia Topuria, but Ilia could knock him out as well, right? And we don't know what Ilia's wrestling and jiu-jitsu is going to look like in the heavier weight class. He says he's 187 pounds. I mean, that's a big guy. If he walks around 187 and he's like lean, there's a picture of him. If he looks like that at 187, he's going to be decently sized for that weight class because he didn't look fat. So that's the X factor about Ilia Topuria moving up to 155. And I think the striking overall, he would beat Armin, and Armin could out-wrestle him to a decision or something. I don't see them finishing Ilia on the ground, so I think that fight's even as well. But then there's Armin Saryukin versus Justin Gaethje. It's like all these guys are going to be fighting each other. Saryukin versus H is a fight where Armin wrestles him, maybe chokes him out, ground and pounds him. That's not a good fight for Justin Gaethje. Armin wouldn't be striking that much. He'd be maybe throwing a few jabs and stuff and then shoot for the takedown under it. Gaethje might explode a few times and defend the takedown, but the chain wrestling from Armin, a lot of those guys in the Caucasus are so good at it. Pushes him against the fence, takes him down from there. Even though Armin doesn't really go for submissions, Gaethje is so susceptible to chokes and stuff, like, I think Armin might be able to get his back control. But if he doesn't do that, the ground and pound will be there. Armin's ground and pound is ferocious. That's where he mostly excels on the ground. So the wrestlers, grapplers in this division are going to be tough fights for Gaethje. So Islam and Armin. And then we go to Ilia Topuria. Ilia could fight Islam, he could fight Armin, but the fight I would do is Charles Oliveira, if he's not fighting Islam. Charles Oliveira versus Ilia Topuria is the fight. #1 contender fight. They've both been talking about each other. According to Chill Sonny, Charles Oliveira says he's not that interested in Ilia. He says that Ilia's talking too much. He needs to respect the weight class. These guys hit harder, all that sort of stuff. Ilia was saying he's the lightweight champion. I think that's the fight. I don't know why Charles thinks like he's getting a title shot over everybody, because that's what he's saying. He's saying that he wants to fight for the title, and I think Ilia and Armin are above him. He needs another win. Beating Michael Chandler is not enough, and the fight should be Ilia Topuria. That's a dangerous fight for both of us. Because not only, of course, Ilia can knock him out. You know, Charles doesn't move his head that much. He's gotten better at it, but is it at the level of dodge the punches of Ilia? I don't think it's that level yet. You can dodge some of the punches of like Beneil Dariush and maybe Michael Chandler. These guys are nowhere near Ilia. You know, Ilia will laser beam him with his punches. But at the same time, Charles can knock out Ilia. This is the one guy that I think has the best chance of knocking Ilia out in some of those issues. He has the flying knees, he has the high kicks, he's explosive, he's very aggressive too. He's not going to be moving away. Ilia's going to go right at him. Right, maybe the only fighter that will go towards Ilia and throw down. In boxing range, Charles would most likely get knocked out. He has the knees and the elbows and stuff, but the higher chances Ilia lands that clean shot and knocks him out. In mid to long range, that's where Charles has an advantage. He has the leg kicks, because he has that low boxing stance. It's heavy on the lead leg, open for a leg kick right there. That could come up high later, or maybe the knees. There's a lot of good techniques on Charles Oliveira to win that fight. And if the fight gets to the ground, not only if Ilia takes the would, but if Charles takes the fight to the ground, with how much better his wrestling is, he could be shooting takedowns and win the rounds off of that. Ilia is very good on the ground. I don't think he gets submitted, but Charles is so good with his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, he doesn't need to get a submission. When you're that high level on grappling, you're not just good at submissions, you're good at top position, top control, all of that stuff. We saw that in Chandler. Chandler is bigger, stronger, and more explosive, and a better wrestler than Ilia Topuria. And Charles is able to wrestle him like that. It's MMA math, you know, but still, I think the size difference, with how Ilya throws his punches, there are openings for takedowns under those, and also from the clinch as well. It's very dangerous to get into the clinch with Ilya. You get past the boxing range, into the clinch. Charles starts throwing elbows, knees, body locks him, picks him up and slams him or something. That's a very, very interesting fight. Who do I think would win? I would say Ilya has a better chance, just because I don't see Charles avoiding all the punches. I think one clean punch from Ilya could knock him out. So I think Ilya has the advantage. He would be the favorite going into it, but it's a very dangerous fight. Now we can talk about Ilya versus HG, but I just don't know. If it did, Ilya would destroy him. You could take him down the center. Trading with Ilya is not the same as trading with Fiziev, because once Ilya gets into the pocket, he's not leaving. Gaethje's going to be covering up, hands up to his head, standing there in front of Ilya. He's getting destroyed. That is the worst matchup for Justin Gaethje in the division. There is a chance he can land a high kick. He could land some punches because he's also good in those exchanges as well. He's very powerful and stuff, but the way he defends, the way he likes to stand in front of his opponent sometimes, especially shown in the Fiziev fights, that is tailor-made for Ilya. There's no better way for Ilya to beat someone than a fighter blocking punches like that. So I'll be very confident in Ilia Topuria beating Justin Gaethje. So then Charles Oliveira. There is a potential Islam Makhachev title fight. There is also the Arman and Ilia fights, but there is another fight for Charles. Is Max Holloway for the BMF title. Their first fight at featherweight really wasn't a fight. You know, Charles ran his head into a fence, and I don't remember what injury it was, but it was like something with his neck or collarbone. It wasn't even a fight. The rematch would be insane. Now, I do think Charles hits harder. I think his wrestling could be a big difference in that fight. Justin Gaethje wasn't really shooting takedowns against Max. Charles would be exchanging in the striking. He's going to be one moving forward, pressuring Max to the fence, and shooting takedowns. I think it's a tough fight for Max. I think whenever the fight's in neutral, Max has the advantage. But as soon as Charles starts moving forward, his advantage increases with every step forward. Max could land a backstep overhand like he did against Korean Zombie, because Charles sometimes does move in straight lines without moving his head. So he could eat a big overhand or something, but I think Charles would be a lot smarter. I think the wrestling just makes it a lot more one-sided is not the right word. It makes the fight a lot easier for Charles. Right? Charles is bigger than him. It's harder for him. He's better wrestling. He's better versus jiu-jitsu. He has a 5-inch reach advantage. He has a pressure advantage. He's better at using the fence. Max, I would say, is a more technical striker, but then we don't know where his chin is at. Right? He got knocked up for the first time against him. He also got dropped by Justin Gaethje. Those are 2 fights in a row where he got hurt. I think it's a great fight, but I do favor Charles. It could also be the next fight. When we talk about Justin Gaethje, so there's an Islam Arman and Ilia fight. I think there's also Dan Hooker. If that was the original fight before Fiziev, they could reschedule it. You know, Dan Hooker is on a good win streak. He deserves a fight in the top 5. I think Justin Gaethje is maybe the perfect opponent. It was a fight that a lot of people were going back and forth with, like, you know, Justin might win. He has a power advantage there, but Dan Hooker has the volume and he doesn't go away. He's very durable. He can overwhelm Justin Gaethje after taking some of his biggest punches. That's an absolute war of a fight. That is the most exciting fight for Justin Gaethje. That's the fight you do. And as an early prediction, I don't know, man. I think Gaethje would win now that we know he's still good after the Fiziev fight, because leading into the Hooker fight, I think Hooker was a favorite because we didn't know if Gaethje could take a decent shot after the Max Holloway fight. I mean, he got knocked out brutally, you know, but he looked great against Fiziev, so I think that fight has become a 50-50 fight even. That's the fight you do next. Justin Gaethje versus Dan Hooker. And then we talk about Max Holloway. So he could fight Justin Gaethje, he could fight Charles Oliveira, or he could fight Dustin Poirier. That could be Dustin's retirement fight. I talked about it before. They did fight twice and Dustin beat him both times, but Max now would be a better fight for Dustin Poirier. I think it's a close fight as well. Maybe Dustin has the advantage. He's a better boxer. Max doesn't really go for takedowns that much. I don't think he could really wrestle with Dustin that well, but he does have openings for some of his combinations and stuff. I think the power punching advantage from Dustin combined with his better boxing skill will win a lot of the exchanges, or at least neutralize what Max is working with. Right? If Max wants to string together a combination, one shot from Dustin could completely dispel all of that. Just break the entire combination. And Max may be the least durable he's ever been after the Ilia and Gaethje fights, whereas Dustin's very durable. He went through a war with Islam Makhachev. Didn't even get dropped once. Islam's not the biggest puncher, but he landed knees on the chin and a ton of punches throughout 4.5 rounds. That's a great fight. Max Holloway versus Dustin Poirier. That's the fight I would do next. I don't see any other retirement fight for Dustin unless it's like him going up to welterweight maybe, but I don't know who he wants to fight up there. I think Dan Hooker should fight Justin Gaethje. The only other fight that makes somewhat sense is Max Holloway. Max Holloway versus Dan Hooker would be pretty cool. It's not a great stylistic matchup for Dan Hooker. It'd be a kind of fight that would make Max look really good. He can show his striking capabilities on display against a guy who could just take all of it, right? Because Max isn't really looking to knock you out with every shot. And that's what kind of throws a lot of guys off when they're fighting Dan Hooker. They're trying to knock him out and they leave openings because of how much power they're throwing. Max will put together combinations like 70% power, and Dan Hooker would just be missing a lot of his shots. I think it'll look almost like the Kelvin Kattar fight, except Hooker will be throwing forward, and I think Holloway will be slipping a lot of them. For Michael Chandler, he is fighting Paddy Pimblett. They could do Mateusz Gamrot versus Renato Moicano. That'd be a cool fight. None of the other fights make as much sense. I mean, they could do Bahamondes, but that's a big step up. For Beneil Dariush, they could do him versus Renato Moicano, Grand Dawson, or Bahamondes. Any of those fights make sense. I mean, the Bahamondes fight is also a big step up, but I guess it makes more sense than fighting Gamrot. For Moicano, he could fight Gamrot, Dariush. Paddy Pimblett is fighting Michael Chandler. Benoit Saint Denis is fighting Yoel Alvarez. Grant Dawson could fight Ignacio Bahamondes. That'd be a good fight. Yeah, that's probably the fight I would do between those two. And that's how you match up the lightweight division, which really needs it right now. Those guys are not fighting. And leave in the comments below, how would you guys match make the lightweight division? And I'll see you guys in the next video.
What it do? Bad Sound Crew. Hey man, listen, today I am here to talk about the best UFC fighters currently in the top 15 of their division that I don't think will ever win the UFC championship. I've done a lot of videos predicting people who will become champion. Listen, I'm not saying I'm the greatest predictor on YouTube. I'm just saying I called O'Malley over Aljo, Merab winning the belt as well. You know, Pantoja, Topuria, Big Ank, Bilal Muhammad. You know, I have a good track record with this stuff. So I want to put my powers in reverse and talk about the UFC fighters that I do not think will win the UFC championship at any point in their career. I'm talking about the undisputed belt in their division. I'm not going to count people that have won a belt in another division and then moved up or something like that. I'm talking straight contenders that will not win that shit. All right, man? On everyone's soul watching this video except mine, we're going 100% on this. All right? Let's get into this, dude. First division to talk about is the flyweight division. Current champion, Alexandre Pantoja. Listen, when I look at this division, I think about the fact that Pantoja is about to get cursed with like the 35 age curse, right? And I feel like there's a way that Brandon Royval can definitely become a champion. I'm not even gonna honor Amir Albazi by pretending that he's like a contender in this division. That's like, I don't know, dude, maybe Amir Albazi doesn't. I'm not even gonna waste your fucking time explaining that Amir Albazi's not winning the belt, dude. Okay? Kai Kara France. Nothing personal, buddy. I just don't think it's gonna happen, man. I just don't. I can't see this guy winning the belt. This is fucking Israel Adesanya's henchman. That is what he is, bro. The big three of CKB is Dan Hooker, Adesanya, right? Dan Hooker's on a good title run. I don't think he's gonna win the belt in his division, but he's not the best contender in that division. Kai Kara France is really good. Imagine a world where this guy's the fucking champion. I just can't. I can't picture it. I think Pantoja's gonna beat him in his next fight. I think Brandon Royval beats him again in a rematch. I think Tatsuro Taira will be able to bully this guy. I just don't think that Kai Kara France has the fucking... And Ryan already beat him as well. And Al Blasi robbed him. You know what I mean? Like, I just think Kai Kara France is like the... he's good, man. You know, he's alright. You know, he's alright, but I just don't see this guy winning the belt. I don't know what technical reason I can apply to this. Just purely based on vibes, that Kai Kara France is never touching the flyweight belt. That's truly what I believe, dude. I think the best run he was on was when he fought Brandon Moreno for the interim belt. And that didn't go his way, man. So I just feel like Pantoja, you're not beating him. Moreno, you already lost to him. Royval, you already lost to him, and you're not beating him again. You know, you fluked a win over Steve Ursay. Congrats, buddy. You know, yeah. And this isn't because he KO'd me, dude. I'm trying to be objective here. I think Kai Kara France is never winning the belt flyweight. All right, man. Let's move on to the bantamweight division. And when you look at these rankings, I mean, Sean O'Malley already won the belt. Merab, you know, kid fluked this. No, I'm kidding. Merab's pretty good. He won the belt. Yodayan was already champion. Umar, he's young. He has a lot of time. Figueiredo, he was a champion at flyweight already. Song Yudong has heaps of time. Listen, man, I know that I'm not getting invited back to the fucking coffee shop. I know that I'm not allowed to watch old Pride, you know, videotapes in the basement anymore. I'm not invited to the fucking bookstore. Listen, man, I just have to be real, dude. I don't see Corey Sandhagen winning the belt. I like Corey Sandhagen, okay? But when you look at the objective facts of the situation, man, he's not beating O'Malley. People genuinely, because this guy talked about the outside foot battle, because he hand fights, and because he feints, spins, and front kicks and shit, right? And people are like, Sandhagen's the best striker in the division, man. This guy's fucking goated, man. He got outstruck by Umna, okay? He has great takedown defense, but he's a big overthinker in the octagon, and I feel like the style that he has, he doesn't have the power to beat people that are able to go technique for technique with it. I think O'Malley beats him because he's too powerful, he's too good. I really believe that. His cardio is really good as well. It's not like he's going to slow down. Petr Yan already beat him pretty soundly. Like, they had a competitive fight, but Petr Yan definitely got the better of him. As in the striking exchanges, as that fight went on, I think he beats him in a rematch also. Umar Nurmagomedov already beat him. I think Merab bullies Corey Sandhagen. Like, Corey Sandhagen, I think, plays on the outside against Merab. Defends takedowns really well. Doesn't get going in the striking whatsoever. Similar to the Umar fight, except I think Merab emotes a lot more and maybe picks him up at some point, right? So when I look at the division against Corey Sandhagen, I do think he's going to beat Davison Figueiredo, but I just think after that, it's going to be what? O'Malley or Merab or Petr Yan, and I don't think he wins any of those fights, and he's not the youngest guy in the division. I just don't see it, man. I like Corey Sandhagen. He's really fucking cool. He's a very cool dude. I've seen a lot of his YouTube videos. I fuck with Corey Sandhagen. All my brothers fuck with Corey Sandhagen. If you don't, get out of here, right? Just being real, he's got to be my pick here for the bantamweight division, all right, man? Let's move on to the featherweight division. You know, I was being nice to Corey Sandhagen, even though Kai Kara-France chinned me, and I wasn't really that nice to him. I was nice to Corey Sandhagen because I fucked with him. Yair Rodriguez. Time has come. There's no way out of this one, brother. I was gonna pick Yair Rodriguez to beat Patricio Pitbull, right? Because I'm thinking this guy's strong and dangerous. He's training with Bilal Muhammad. I mean, this guy's in the gym listening to, bro. Stop, dude, you need to stop doing spinning kicks, bro. You need to stop doing technique, bro. Literally, you just need to walk out and go uppercut. Literally, bro, I'm a better striker than Yair Rodriguez, bro. Straight up, literally, bro. These guys we fought are bum. Yair Rodriguez is never touching the fucking belt, and I picked this guy to win the belt, and I knew as soon as that fight's out, I was like, what am I doing? Why did I pick Yair by sub? I believed in this young individual, but when it comes down to the facts, you look at this guy's best fucking wins. Who are they? Name them for me now, please, and go. Ready? This is the interactive section of the video. Ready? Name the best Yair Rodriguez wins. Who was it? Excuse me, who was it? TKZ? Is that what you said, TKZ? Dude, Yair Rodriguez was losing to TKZ. Fluked a fucking up elbow. Josh Emmett, he actually looked really good against Josh Emmett. I got gaslit by that Josh Emmett fight. But I'm just being real, dude. Like, he lost to fucking Brian Ortega when he was lobbed out, rolled his ankle. Worst circumstances for Brian Ortega ever. Tracy Cortez is in the front row, you know what I mean? Latinas are all around him. Brian Ortega locked in and still beat this fucking guy. I think Patricio Pitbull's gonna plot armor his way through Yair Rodriguez. I think he's gonna randomly KO Yair with just Morgan. And I just don't think Yair Rodriguez is ever winning the belt. Like, he has good striking. He slows down as the fight goes on. He's good off his back. He has no defensive grappling, no defensive wrestling, and he slows down as the fight goes on. His chin is getting worse. He's getting dropped by Josh Emmett and Volkan. He got KO'd by both. He got dropped by both, dog. What are you doing? Yair Rodriguez is never touching the fucking belt at featherweight. I'm sorry. It is what it is. Brian Ortega, on the other hand, notice how I didn't put him here? Because there's still time, all right? Dude, I believe in Brian Ortega coming back. But Yair Rodriguez, you're fucking cooked, buddy. All right? And the crazy part is people will literally say that Brian Ortega sucks and glaze this guy. People will genuinely look you dead in the face and hate on Brian Ortega when he has similar wins to fucking Jose Aldo, Cub Swanson, Frankie Edgar, TKZ, except he didn't fluke them. He finished all of them. And Moicano, and he did better against Max Holloway than fucking Jose Aldo did. He survived way longer, rocked Max in the third round, arguably was winning that round. Yair Rodriguez, people still glaze this fucking guy, and he got melted by the worst version of Ortega we've ever seen. Fuck that. Damn, it felt good to rant about that shit, man. Yair Rodriguez, get out of here, bro. I'm sorry, man. It's not happening. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about the lightweight division. And this is a tough one because they're right next to each other. It's Justin Gaethje and it's Dustin Poirier, right? I think Max Holloway has potential to become champion. I don't think Dan Hooker's going to win the belt. I'm starting to worry that the Mateus Gamrot title run's not going to happen. I mean, obviously, we know Paddy Pimblett will be touching the belt. I'm sure Lucas Tracy thinks Benoit's coming back for the belt, but all jokes aside, dude, it's Gaethje or Poirier. I think Gaethje, because he beat Poirier more recently, he's the guy I'm going to put here as the best contender in the division that's never going to win the belt. I'm sorry to say this to the Rufus army, like I'm a general in the Rufus brigade, but I just don't think this guy's ever winning the fucking belt, man. Like, look at the top fucking people that are going to be champion. It's either he's fighting Islam Makhachev, who will absolutely ragdoll this guy, or he's fighting Ilya Taporia, who's gonna chin him. Like, what is he supposed to fucking do? Or he's fighting Armin Sarukian. Again, another guy that I think beats him pretty handily. Like, what is this guy supposed to do? Same with Poirier, man. I feel so bad for these two because they're so fucking good. They have such great resumes. They've had amazing UFC careers. We all love them. They belong in all-time great lightweight conversations. They are absolutely, positively... strike down everyone watching this video if I'm wrong. Rufus is never winning the fucking belt, and if he does, he's fluking Islam with a head kick. There's no fucking chance this guy wins the belt. I hate to say it because I love Rufus, but it is what it is, dude. The best we can get is that maybe he goes in there against Islam, you know, ducks under, goes the uppercut. You know what I mean? That's the most we're getting out of Gaethje. I don't think he's winning the belt, boys. I'm sorry, man. All right. Moving on now, I'm going to talk about the welterweight division, and this is my favorite UFC weight class. I love this division. There's something about welterweight. It's like the skill set almost of lightweight with the goofiness of middleweight kind of mixed in. There's danger, there's personalities, you know, there's JDM. I mean, what else do I need to say, right? So here's my theory about welterweight, okay? I think this is going to be a fucking revolving door similar to light heavyweight when Jones left. I think that Bilal Muhammad being champion is great. I love Bilal Muhammad. I'm glad he got Leon Edwards out of here. I genuinely think Shavkat, JDM, Ian Gary, Joaquin Buckley, I think all of these dudes are going to be champion at some point in their career. I think every single one of those guys can beat each other in some sort of order that they end up all being champion. I really do think that. Like, I genuinely think all of them will be a champion at some point if they fight the right person as champion. Like, out of that group, I think JDM beats all... No, I'm just kidding. Okay, dude, but like, you know what I'm saying, right? The person that's not winning the belt in this murderer's row at welterweight, Sean fucking Brady. Now, listen, I know Joe Pyfer is currently boarding a private jet to come see me and knock me out. Please don't hurt me smoking Joe Pyfer. I just have to be real. I don't see it with Sean Brady. I don't see it, man. I talked about it yesterday, dude. People compared this guy to fucking JDM. Congrats, bro. You beat Gilbert Burns by decision, man. Is that really what you have to do to be better than JDM as a prospect? Is to, instead of KOing Gilbert Burns with one arm and getting out of every bad spot and completely outstriking him the entire fight, and the judges are just fucked up, like just have no idea what they're talking about, right? Instead of doing that, instead of actually finishing a top contender who's coming off a title elimination bout, you need to fight him 9 months later when he's nearly 40 on a losing streak in the Apex, get rocked every time you strike, and take him down and smudge him. That's more impressive, guys. But at the same time, oh, dude, fuck Ankalaev, bro. This guy sucks. But when Brady does... Oh, dude, Brady's dark horse of division, man. Dude, Brady's the dark horse, dude. Dude, Brady's total dark horse, man. He's gonna be champ. Fuck off! This guy's not winning the belt. He's going to get chinned by fucking JDM. He's going to get pieced up on the feet and not be able to, out grapple Shavkat Rakhmonov. I think Shavkat Rakhmonov would hurt this guy to the body and finish him. I think Ian Gary might be able to kind of dart away on the outside of this guy who literally walks at you throwing... Like, he genuinely walks at you like he's holding weights punching you, dude. Sean Brady, this guy got his nose broken by Michael Chiesa. He's not beating fucking Ian Gary. He's not beating JDM. He's not beating fucking Shavkat Rakhmonov. I'm just being real here, bro. He's not even beating Leon Edwards, man. I genuinely think Leon Edwards is going to beat this guy. So, for me, I'm sorry, man. I'm not putting Sean Brady in that conversation. He's a very talented grappler. I have nothing personally against him. I'm sure that, Joe Pyfer, please keep the body cam on. Please do not hurt me, brother. Please, I'm literally shaking right now. Please don't hurt me, dude, okay? But I just have to be real. Dude, and imagine the division if fucking Sean Brady wins the belt, dude. You know, I just think his style is the worst out of all those guys. Like, Shavkat JDM, Shavkat Ian Gary, JDM versus Ian Gary, Buckley versus any of those guys. These are all sick fights, dude. Sean Brady's just going to try and blob them, dude. So, I don't think Sean Brady's going to be the champion out of that group. Maybe I'm wrong, but he's my pick out of that group, all right? And similar kind of thing when I'm talking about middleweight now, right? We've got Imavov, we've got Chimaev, we've got Baralho, we've got Anthony Hernandez. He 100% will be winning the belt. We've got Ranier Derrida on the come up. There's a lot of young guys, in the words of Stipe Miocic, there's a lot of young guys coming up at middleweight, and I think they're going to be an interesting combination. Right? Because for me, I'm feeling like Khamzat Chimaev better win this belt. And I feel like he's gonna beat most of the guys in this. I'm just gonna be real, dude. I think Chimaev is gonna be champion for a while, especially because he's inactive. On top of the fact that I think he's the best middleweight. Like he's one of the best fighters in the UFC. I really feel like he's so good, but he just never fights. So people always fucking forget how good he actually is. I definitely think Chimaev is gonna be champion. I think Imavov has a lot of potential and a lot of time to be champion. Same with Anthony Hernandez. Maybe a hot take. I'm gonna say Caio Borralho does not get the belt at any point. I think Caio Borralho is gonna be like a very dangerous top contender. That, you know, if you beat Borralho, you're like, holy shit, dude, this guy's goated. Like, this guy could be the champion, right? I think Borralho definitely will fight for the belt at some point. But I honestly think that Imavov, I think Chimaev definitely, I think both of those guys are most likely to be champion for a long time in this division moving forward. And I think both of those guys are really hard fight for Borralho. I think Borralho could beat Imavov, I will say that. But if he beats Imavov, that means he has to fight Chimaev, and I think he loses to Chimaev. Right? Like, I think the highest ranked guy right now he can beat is maybe Imavov, but even then I'd probably pick Imavov right now. Just based on the momentum, he's well-rounded, he's like a powerful striker. Borralho is a little bit more of like he's a good striker, but he's not like the most powerful guy, right? So I'm gonna say Borralho. As unfortunate as it is, the Fighting Nerd plot armor will run out at some point, and I don't think he's gonna get the belt. I will say this though. Borralho, out of all the Fighting Nerds, I would say it's him or Gene Silver that have the most potential to be champion. That's what I'll say. I will say that, based on the division they're in, alright? Let's move on. Let's talk about the light heavyweight division, and this is fucking dreadful, dude. I don't know what I was about to say. This is dreadful, dude. You know, Big Ank is so dominant that, you know, we can say goodbye to Olberg winning the belt. We can say goodbye to Rocket ever touching the fucking belt. We can get Khalil out of here. Darius can leave the division. I do not... Maybe Dominic Reyes, but listen, man. I hate to be depressing, guys, but I'm starting to think that Anthony Smith title run is not going to happen. I'm starting to kind of lose hope a little bit that the Lionheart title redemption run is not actually happening. I do... Listen, I'm gonna pick him against Zhang Mingyang, bro. I don't care that it makes no sense. This is something that I just have to do. This is part of the storyline, dude. What is this? Straight up, dude. I have to pick him over Mingyang. I have to fucking do it. It's too funny to imagine not to do it. I think he actually can somehow survive round one by being a cockroach and submit this guy. But regardless of that, like, Anthony Smith's time in the light heavyweight division is coming to an end. He apparently is retiring. I hope that he wins and has like he thinks he's Dustin Poirier and is kind of like, maybe I got one more left in me. You know what I mean? I hope that's what we get when he fights Ming Yang. I'm praying that's what we get. But unfortunately, guys, I don't think Anthony Smith is going to 2-on-1 grip his way to the belt. He was so fucking close, which is what really annoys me. Because if he had beat Roman Dolidze, they probably would have given him the title. They, like, when Pereira was ducking Ankalaev and was trying to fight anybody else at Salt Lake City, they probably would have been like, you know what, there's beef here, let's fucking do it. Who cares, bro? He would have been ranked the same as fucking Khalil, dude. So, it is disappointing, but at the same time, you know, John Jones had to illegally knee this guy to beat him. So, that just shows how good Anthony Smith was back in the day. On his best day, he definitely could have been champion, but I just don't think it's going to happen at this point in his career. I'd love for the GOAT to prove me wrong, but right now, he's my pick for the light heavyweight division. And the last one to talk about in the heavyweight division, maybe a shocking pick here. I'm sorry, man. I love Volkov. I fuck with Volkov heavy. He's goated. I just don't think this is going to happen. I just don't think the UFC would ever let this happen, man. And honestly speaking, like, he beat Pavlovich. He lost to Blades. He beat Gane, but got robbed, right? I feel like that is a Cyril Gane plot armor moment. He already lost to Tom Aspinall. I think John Jones beats him as well. I think anybody that's a pretty strong grappler can treetop this guy and be able to submit him. I think off his back, he like any big guy, you put him on their back, they're going to be pretty easy to submit compared to any other position. Like, if a big guy... Jesus Christ, this is really sus. Listen, dude. If a big guy gets on top of you, it's really hard to do anything. But when you get on top of a big guy, it's like fucking... Dude, you're sliding around. You're just trying... You're throwing up one-legged shots. I'm just trying stuff at this point. That's what it's like, right? And I think when you have Aspinall, you have Almeida, you have Blades in the division, I don't think Volkov is going to end up as champion, and I do think he's going to retire relatively soon because he's one of the older guys left in the division from the old days of the weight class. So for me, as much as that pains me to say, because it would be funny, I think it would be really cool to see Volkov go on that Unk status kind of title run like we saw Glover Teixeira go on. I don't think it's going to happen. So these are my picks of the best UFC contenders. And by the way, these are all great fighters. Like, I'm not trying to shit on any of these guys genuinely. These are all great fighters, but for me, there's so many fighters in UFC history, like Carlos Condit, Nick Diaz, Dustin Poirier, right? Alexander Gustafsson, Rumble. There's so many. I could keep fucking going all day, dude. There's so many fighters, that Yoel Romero, that never won the UFC belt that we all still love, but it's always one of those things where, like, damn, I wish he got the belt. And I think these guys fall into that category based on where they're at in their career and where they've, like, what's happened already. So, I don't know. These are my picks. Let me know what you think down below. Who is someone that you think fits into this category? Am I wrong? Am I right? Am I being delusional? Let me know in the comments down below. If you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like. Subscribe to the channel. I'm in America right now. I'm learning
encher ele de murro na boca. Depois ele vai ficar falando que ele não teve tempo pra treinar, porque tava na internet falando merda. Arrombado.
A merda que ele fez foi aceitar essa luta. Mas vai matar ele. Vocês vão ver.
Bom dia. Bom dia. Ai, fazer um treininho ali. Tem uma luta chegando, né? Deus, eu faço uma oração. E aí, meu pai? Tá de boa? Vambora?
Você rapidinho, né? Só pra gente fazer essa entradinha.
Bom dia, bom dia.
Nosso parceiro.
Você vai de mala agora, né?
É pra levar as coisas do sparring, né? Bandeira, essas paradas.
Fala, meu irmão.
Pô, então, o Carlão, ele tá muito próximo de gabaritar todos os produtos que o UFC tem pra gravar com ele. A gente já gravou o Next Level, a gente já gravou o Feature, já gravou o Embedded, agora a gente tá gravando o Journey. Só vai faltar o Countdown, que quando vier o cinturão.
Aí quando você ganhar o seu dinheiro, você não precisa. Dois meses depois ele recebe a... É igual o bônus do SFT, você ganha. 2 meses depois vai ganhar, cara. Olha lá, ó.
It will be a long road to the Joker after, but
O gigante ali de Batuba ali, outro menino ali. Não sabe fazer isso aí. Parece que ele
how did you enjoy that? I'm there at
Completo todo mundo, pessoal. Luva de boxe, cadeireira, joelheira, chuveleira. Rapidão.
Dia de porrada hoje?
GG de porrada, e da molecada sair na mão aqui. Todo mundo empolgado. Olha o Isaías. Isaías, ele. Ser igualzinho. Ser igualzinho o Ian Gary. Valeu.
O sparring do Carlão tá chegando aí?
Eu falo pra esses
O Ian Gary. O Ian Gary de Taubaté?
O Ian Gary de Taubaté, ele falou assim, mas eu não pareço nada com o Ian Gary, pô. O papo já vai ficar pra lá, né? Vamos ficar pra lá.
Posso jogar de comigo lá?
Vamos acelerar um pouco, hein? Vai deixar mais franco.
Saiu de uma vez só. Poderia um pouquinho mais fechado, aí deixando nas costas deles. Aí, vamos voltar pra baixo. Aí, vamos voltar pra baixo.
Sentindo ainda. Finalzinho, vai ter aparecido. Disfarcei bem.
Se erra, acerta em mim, viado.
É, foi?
Jogar daí pra lá. Sai do lado de lá. Abre depois direto. Aí fica. Mais um cuidado aqui, ó.
Death will not take me.
Tem bastante interagindo aí.
Depois que você sair daí. Pega, pra você inverter essa posição e ir pras costas do carro. Bora. Levantar. Vamos no chão. Controle do Carlos.
There's also a chief professor. It is part of your chiefdom.
Tem um luta também, né? Tem um luta marcado. Que dia que é a luta dele?
Tá aí, aí eu vou em casa. Pô, se você encostar lá, ficar de boa, suave.
Aí de lá eu vou pro próximo crossfit lá.
Não, então a gente te encontra em casa e faz esse caminho contigo.
Daqui vou almoçar, dar um pau no Fernandão no FIFA e depois treinar um pouquinho, né? Justo. Descontar as últimas aí, que as últimas andei apanhando.
Local na área. Papai. Aqui. Tá pegando.
Não é. Já falta 2 dias. Fight 2 dias.
2 days.
2 week.
E como é que tá a preparação?
Tá suave. Falta 1 quilinho só. Só ficar acordado.
Bora.
Tava treinando, aí colocou pagode, esquece. Com a camisa do Timão ainda, isso aí ele apanhou, hein? Rapaz do céu, aí eu fico, nossa, hoje você vai apanhar, hein? Tocando pagode com a camisa do Coringão, irmão, esquece que você vai apanhar hoje. Eu cantava, fazia a posição e cantava assim, ó. Mateusão, nossa, o bicho ficou bravo, hein? O bicho ficou bravo.
Vamos lá.
Agora você derruba o ferido. Começa. Você bater aí,
É um sinal, né, papai?
Quem nunca vai perder, vai perder. Vai, cara. Perdão. Dentro da guarda do Felipe agora, dentro da guarda. Tá o muito baixo, melhor.
Casal que treina junto, cresce junto, hein?
Vem.
Fazer bebe água. Tem como, cara.
O cara ficou 2 rounds, mano. Escolheu o Magni na grade. Senão não nocauteou o cara, velho. Sem perna ainda. Deu o Magni sem perna.
Não, é muito. Não.
Fala que vai me nocautear e é
Cara, só chute.
Complain about that though. They need to head out there. The scale band were never meant to be facts. They use these to stage evolutions of people. That's the secret.
Nocautear, nocautão. Vai cair duro. É merda que ele vem pra aceitar essa luta. Vai matar ele. Vamos ver.
É o do bônus. É o do bônus, papai.
O bônus é o terceiro.
É o melhor sniper. Viu? Vamos fazer assim.
Vai pegar aqui hoje?
Hoje vamos fazer um treino mais técnico, vamos fazer 5 rounds. Grappling, a parte de wrestling com o Huff, o professor Huff, e a parte de trocação com o Matheus. Tem mais ou menos a mesma altura ali, também joga mais ou menos as mesmas técnicas que o Ian provavelmente vai jogar também. E os dois vão fazer um sparring técnico. Reta final também, né? 9 dias, 10 dias eu acho, pra luta. Agora não tem por que pegar muito pesado mesmo assim, mas técnica mesmo, mais com algumas técnicas, coisas que vão acontecer lá. E não sem se quebrar muito. Isso é da hora.
Rapaziada, presta atenção aqui, ó. A gente tem próximo tudo pra ligar.
Too long have we all been bound by the chains of fate. I will shatter. Along with you who would seek to bind freedom will be our future. My future.
Eu não vou
At
apanhar
any
hoje,
cost.
só vou tentar segurar o homem. Tentar, né? É difícil. Menos mal, né? É, menos pior. Vou bater o que eu vou apanhar. Então, Matheus. Estão dizendo que hoje é o sparring mais difícil do Carlão, porque você vai moer ele comendo na porrada. Fala isso mesmo pra ele, de surpresa. Tá gravado, hein?
É,
Achou que ia se livrar. Pô, qual é, pai? Na hora que eu vi o cara chutando, eu falei, nossa, tô bolado, eu vou matar o outro. Aí depois eu vi, eu falei, não é. Errei, né? Horrível, né? Aí meteu um golaço. Viu a bola quicando ali, deu-lhe. Cuidado, filho. Quando chora, porque o bagulho é sério. Fazer com o ramp, primeiro eu vou tentar agarrar e tal, normal. Depois o. Se não, eu ramp pra agarrar mais. Entendeu?
Chutinhos por dentro. Olha o trabalho. 50 segundos. Bravo. Bravo. Bora. Saiu para os golpes do corpo. Cuidado, cuidado só com a força. Cuidado com a força, os dois. Cuidado, não precisa força. Não precisa força agora, técnica. Xuxa a perna de trás também, Carlos. Balança mais a cabeça, Carlos. Cuidado com a força agora. Opa! Aí dá pras costas. 10 segundos. Postura. Postura, Carlos. Calma. Ótimo. Perfeito. Só isso. Oh. Ótimo. Mesmo a saída ali, as defesas também, é um triângulo invertido. Perfeito. Ótimo. As costas, aquela sua, você faz bem ela. E o ramp é mais compacto, né? Então é difícil jogar. O outro é mais magrelão, dá pra jogar pra lá e pra cá. Brigar pra levantar, Carlos. Brigar pra levantar. Pula pra levantar. Só não pode errar.
Estamos aqui treinando, ó. Enquanto o Yangel tá na internet falando merda, tô aqui treinando. O dia 26, encher de murro na boca. Depois ele vai ficar falando que ele não teve tempo pra treinar, porque tava na internet falando merda. Arrombado.
Every day when I wake up, I visualize that fight. I winning by knockout or TKO. I wanna show the world the best Carlos Prats. I never gonna run from fighting. I don't feel any pressure.
Carlos has a lot of hype, and for all the right reasons. But he will not be the same man. way, shape. Thailand, America. And this one, I'm putting because I took this fight in 25 days. Environment close to home so that I can consistently and constantly be the best.
Can I help you?
I definitely feel different. So pivotal to me and my life that it matters so much. That's why I bought a home in the country. To come home to the country. Just you see for me, it's everything. Stars are clear, the sun is shining. Meditation. I find golf and fighting very simple because you focus entirely on yourself. Made the first hole interesting, but that's golf, right?
They're mine.
I'll be how my mind works and
Will not take me.
Golf is just that. So the more consistent you are, the better you become with it. That's why I love it. It's human. Man fight. Is how can I win this? What can I do to beat this guy? How can I make him feel really uncomfortable? Then I'm only focusing on me, and all I see is winning, winning, winning. Just having this ability to I feel like it's one of the best places to do it. Playing on your own. No one else around, nothing else is going on. Just good luck in the tables, I like it. Where I am right now in my life and my career. I'm one of the best in the world because of how my mind It's a mental, physical manipulation and a chess game that I just love to play and always find a way to win.
Here is Ian Machado Gary, undefeated, number 7 in the world. We'll see how he fares against the also undefeated Shavkat Rakhmonov.
I was on a 15-fight win streak before my last fight.
Oh, big right hand by Shavkat.
I always wanted to maintain the undefeated streak. But I also want to
come on.
fight the
When is
best
that fighting
fighters that the
finished?
UFC has
It's
to
going to
offer.
work.
So on
It's not like
21
you've got
days
any
notice,
other
I agreed to
options.
fight the scariest man in the division, the boogeyman. Everybody was turning him down, but not me. I'm built different.
Big ground strikes from Rakhmonov.
I was too calm and too patient in the first 2 rounds, and then rounds 3, 4, and 5, I picked it up. He started to deflate.
Garrett takes his back. This is huge. Ian's trying very hard to get that body triangle. Oh! And he's got it. This is a battle. If he can get Shavkat like this, this would be absolutely huge.
Rakhmonov's out.
Woo! That was close.
The ego in me doesn't like to admit that my hand never got raised. Because I still feel like to this day, I didn't lose that fight. He was gasping for air. grateful the fight was over. I was ready for more. The biggest emotion after that fight was joy. I was so proud and happy that I take a fight against the scariest man in the division on short notice, show up and put on a performance like that. I learned from the Shavkat fight that I am absolutely destined to be the best in the world, to be the champion, and there will be a time where we will face off again and I'll prove to the world that I am the better fighter.
Let's rock and roll. Got sicky.
Not to fight.